Alright, so we're going to talk about multiple meaning words. That means from general to domain-specific knowledge. And we're going to go ahead and review examples in multiple subject areas, and then I'll go ahead and focus in on social science. So this is the quote at the beginning of the reading up on this strategy. So one of the greatest sources of vocabulary development lies not so much in learning new words as in learning other meanings for words already known. Basically meaning building upon your prior knowledge to further develop a richer vocabulary. So what are multiple meaning words? They're words that are the same exact words, but they have different meanings in different contexts, and this can range from even like the parts of speech and such like that. So in the example in math, the word figure, here as a noun it's a shape or form. As teacher can say, please look at figure 1 and solve the problem, right? But another context, as a verb, take time to figure out this problem number 3. And then again, as a noun, as far as a number, how many significant figures does this number have? So you can see these are very specific examples of the word figure in a math class, but they all mean different things. An example in English, I have 2 examples that are pretty broad, but they seem to work in my head. So, a set is a group, so study this set of vocabulary words for Monday, but it can also mean to represent time or place. So this story is set in post-World War II London. And then also as another verb, an action verb, set your books under your desk while we take our test. This is a very general one, but you get the point. And then an example in science, the word base can mean different things in different types of science. So in chemistry, a base, you use a pH strip to determine if something is closer to an acid or a base, so the pH strip indicates this liquid is a base. But in physics, where you use more geometry and math, you would find that you can use it as a line or surface on which a figure is regarded as standing. So solve the trajectory problem using the given angle and base of the triangle. So you can see base, 2 different things in 2 different kinds of science classes. So you can see where the confusion starts. So what are you supposed to do when your students are confused about all these different meanings for the words they already know, especially for English language learners and your weaker readers? Have no fear, Alright, so in my placement, I am teaching a psychology class, and I've found that my students recognize some words that they've seen before in their history classes. So in that case, they can use that prior knowledge to help them develop their vocabulary for psychology class. So speaking of psychology, we're going to go ahead and review with Jean Piaget here, famous developmental psychologist. He came up with the ideas of schemas. So schemas are categories that children come up with when they're encountering new information. So assimilation is to create a new schema based on new information. So a kid encounters a 4-legged furry animal and finds out it's called a dog, so he calls it a dog. But then later he meets a cat and he calls it a dog. Later it's corrected that it's actually a cat, so he finds out that there are defining features of dogs and cats, accommodates to schema to fit that. So he can create a new schema for cats, or he can create a new change his schema to mammal or something like that. So just some review from some psychology where I found it related to this strategy. But my students have seen these words before. I specifically remember the times we went over these vocabulary words, and my students are like, oh, I know what this means. So you can see how there is some confusion there, but you can build upon that confusion to kind of develop their rich vocabulary. So the graphic organizer here that you can find on Appendix 16, you list the word, what you already know about the word, what it means specifically in this class, and then you can doodle a little visual to help you remember. So in this case, a student recognized the word assimilation, probably heard about it while discussing immigration in history class. So when an immigrant embraces the culture of their new home, and in this class it means encountering new information to create a schema. So you can see the definitions are somewhat related. Like if you knew what assimilation meant in your history class, you can kind of get a guess of what it meant in psychology. And so a visual to help you remember is the psychology example there that I discussed earlier. And here a student remembered the word authoritarian, probably learned that from his history class too, from World War II. very similar, when discussing totalitarian governments, all powerful, full control. So when we're talking about parenting styles, and there's an authoritarian parenting style, you can guess that's the parenting style, has full control, pretty strict. And a little doodle to help you remember. This looks like a lecturing parent and a sad child. So you can see how that definition definitely could help is to remember the authoritarian parenting style in the psychology context. So with the use of this graph organizer, students can organize their thoughts to build upon their prior knowledge and develop a richer vocabulary. Thank you for listening.